This is JT Carden with the agency Scottsdale. Today, I wanted to share an awesome hike I did earlier in the week with you. But before that, I wanted to address something of an elephant in the room, which is this isn't the usual place that I record my videos. And that is because my family and I have finally moved back into our house. I had some water damage back in November, and we have been living with my wonderful in-laws for the past 6 months, and we finally moved back in this week. We're very excited about it. We're very happy with it. Maybe someday I'll give you a tour of the home. But for now, I want to go ahead and get started on this awesome hike that I did here in the Phoenix area. Anyone who's lived here for any length of time probably knows at least of this mountain, but has probably gone on this hike as well, or at least has been invited to go on this hike. And that's the Piestewa Peak Trail. Now, I want to go over the name of this mountain real quick, because if you've been here for more than 2 decades, you might not have known it as Piestewa Peak initially. At the beginning, back when it was the Pima natives here, they had a name for it that I'm not going to try and pronounce, but it essentially meant Iron Mountain. Now, it's interesting because there really isn't much iron in the mountain, but it does have a lot of cool rock around it, not iron. And then in 1910, the settlers that came in started calling it Squaw Peak. And that name stuck until 2008. And then they chose to change the name after a lot of political moving and rallying and trying to rename it for years and years. They chose to name it Piestewa Peak. And that was to honor Army Specialist Lori Piestewa. Now, who is Lori Piestewa, you might ask? She holds the designation as the first Native woman killed in active combat, which is wild because she was killed in the Iraq War, so this century. But I think that makes it a pretty solid naming choice for this mountain, to honor both the people that were here before the settlers and to honor this very special woman who gave her life for her country. It is a fantastic hike. It's one of, I would consider, the top 3 hikes that you can do in the valley. Number 1 being Camelback, number 2 being Squaw Peak, and number 3 being South Mountain. They're very accessible, very straightforward, and very popular, which acts as both a positive and a negative. It means you're likely to encounter a lot of interesting people on the trail, but it also means that when you show up at the trail at 5:15 a.m. like I did, the parking lot is pretty much full already, which is absolutely bonkers. But the trail is worth it, the hike is worth it, especially doing it as a sunrise hike, which is what I did, and as you'll see in the videos, it is truly spectacular. Now, I'll give you a quick rundown of the hike. The hike is challenging. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it for you. I remember at one point in my life, I thought it was a very easy hike, and I think that was a point in my life where I was doing a lot of really insane hikes pretty consistently. It's about 2.5 miles round trip, which is not very long, but you're going over 1,000 feet up in that space, which means most of the trail, I would say 95% of the trail, has a pitch about like this. And the other interesting thing about this trail is, even though it probably has hundreds, if not thousands of people going on it daily, if not weekly, the trail is surprisingly not smooth. I'm not mad about that. I enjoy a good, robust, interesting trail. The downside is, because of how highly trafficked it is, the many, many, many rock steps and rock outcroppings and rock things that are on this trail that you have to navigate have been worn pretty smooth. Now, I did this hike with very worn tennis shoes, but there were several points where my shoes actually did slip out underneath me, and if I wasn't better prepared, I probably would have eaten it pretty hard. Thankfully, I didn't, but let that be a word of caution. You're gonna need to have some pretty good ability to get your feet up and lift yourself up with some pretty tall steps and be comfortable with navigating some rocky terrain. Outside of that, it's a fantastic hike. It's set in the Phoenix Mountain Preserves. What I love about the mountain preserve is that when you're in the middle of it, not on the top of Squaw Peak or Piestewa Peak, when you're down in the desert, There are so many times that I've been in there and felt like I was hundreds of miles outside of the city in the middle of just wild, raw desert. And that's because of how they have it set up. You're almost surrounded by different mountain ranges. So when you're in the middle of it, you genuinely don't see or hear any city around you except for maybe a wayward helicopter every now and then. And if you like it, or even if you don't, I also suggest you give the other many, many trails in the Phoenix Mountain Preserve a try. Also be aware that parking can be an absolute nightmare. They did recently redo the parking area here a few years ago. It helped, but they need to about double the amount of parking spots if they want to cater to all the people who would like to hike that mountain during the winter. So plan ahead, plan smart, and I hope you enjoy the hike. Thank you again for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the videos I was able to grab of that beautiful sunrise in the mountains. With that, I hope you like, subscribe, and also check out my website. I would love to see you subscribe to my quarterly magazine, The Peaks, named after Piestewa Peak, as well as Camelback Mountain. I think you'll enjoy the analyses that go on in there, as well as articles on local businesses. And if you have any questions about really anything here in the valley, whether that be food, or hikes, or things to do with your kids, or even real estate. I am a real estate agent, that's why I do this. But if you have any questions because you're moving here or you've lived here for a while and you're just looking for something different, give me a call. I'd love to chat and help you love this area as much as I do, because I think this is just such a fantastic place to be. With that, I hope to see you in the next video.